Let me ask you a question. Would I be a cold-hearted son of a bitch to say what I'm about to say? But before you judge me, hear what I have to say first. And if the spirit moves you, then head on, bitches. Life right now is hard for the Ukrainian people. I understand that. And only soldiers should be involved in war, not civilians, because that's their job. So truly, I feel for their situation. I have been to war, and let me tell you something. War is hell. But for real, it's a pretty messed up situation on so many levels, especially if you're caught in the middle as a civilian. But wait, what if you're just an immigrant and you too are now caught in this quote-unquote war zone, trying to get out like everybody else? At this point, everyone is the same, right? You are now displaced immigrants trying to enter bordering countries, right? Hold that thought. Breaking news from the West. These are not refugees from Syria. These are Christians. They are white. They are very similar to us. This is from an NBC reporter who, oh, by the way, NBC is supposed to be left-leaning and liberal. I'm going to paraphrase just to get my point across. The right-wing conservatives aren't friends of the minorities, but at least they don't try to hide it. They're like the wolves. They show their teeth in a snarl that keeps the minority always aware of where he stands with them. But the left-leaning, liberals, they're foxes who always show their teeth as well. But they pretend that they are smiling. The liberals are more dangerous than the conservatives. They lure the minorities, and as the minorities run from the growling wolf, he flees into the open jaws of the smiling fox. One is a fox, the other is a wolf. No matter what, they'll both eat you. Now that's Malcolm X, edited of course, and paraphrased by Brian Matthews. Woo, skills. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, ladies and gentlemen, just the tip of the iceberg. And the reason why this guy could give a fuck less. Here we go. Another report from CBS, of course. This isn't Iraq or Afghanistan. Relatively civilized. Relatively European. Meaning blonde and blue-eyed. Now, I can go on because there's so many different reports out there. But I think my point is pretty clear. Now, I have said on more than one occasion, Black and brown people are despised regardless of the language that the European or Western civilizations speak. In the Ukraine, you have African and Indian students being denied access to trains, pushed back so that Ukrainian people can board. There have even been reports that these refugees are being beat up and shot at and being denied access into Poland by who? The Ukrainian soldiers. But I can't believe that in a time like this, that race is becoming a factor. Now this is big news, people, big news. But as an American, don't ask me to be more sympathetic to the Ukrainians versus the Afghanis. Let me be perfectly clear. There was one man, and I hope this point gets across, but there was one man who held the largest empire. He was not white. He was not black. He was a Mongol. Ladies and gentlemen, Genghis Khan. Now, the Mongols are invariably associated with the terrible tales of conquest, destruction, and bloodshed. This famed clan leader and his immediate successors created the largest empire to ever exist, spanning the entire Asian continent from Pacific Ocean to the modern-day Hungary in Europe. But quote-unquote, these savages, these uncivilized people, are from countries that most modern-day leaders tend to avoid. Anyone from these countries must be savages. They must be less than the European people. But the funny thing is, most of these countries that are reporting by the Western influence are the same ones who want to see America and its allies fall. I have made mention in one or two podcasts. I'm going to say this, and this goes over your head, you better rewind and listen again. America may be the white knight, Y'all don't hear me though. I said America may be the white knight, but to most of the world, we are nothing more than colonizers with a purpose of supremacy that has spread across a European nation. So yeah, as Trump would say, fuck them and fuck those shithole countries. Whereas for Russia, for what Russia is doing to Ukraine may be considered Russification, in which they are saying we Russians are more a superior people than you. Yet understanding their own plight, meaning the Ukrainians, understanding their own plight from the indoctrination of Russification, they want to flee. This is a reason to flee. The changing of their life and their culture makes them want to flee. However, discriminating against darker skinned immigrants denotes the hypocrisy of the European nations, to include Ukrainian. But I digress at this point, because I'm not going to beat this freaking horde to death. But let's be clear. Don't expect me to drop a tear for a country who is no better than the one who invaded them, to a people who disguise blatant systematic racism for nationalism. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brian Matthews, and I'm out.